Hi guys, I'm your host, Psychotic Mr. L, and welcome back to my channel. This video is actually kind of special because this is going to be my first ever platinum trophy on PlayStation. I've never done that before. Haven't had a PlayStation in over 10 years. Last time, actually, I think it's more like 13, 14 years or something. Last time I had a PlayStation, I played the very original Dead Space on it and Batman Arkham Asylum, and then I never played PlayStation again after that. So this is going to be my very first official platinum trophy ever, and I wanted to choose a game that was really special to PlayStation, that a lot of PlayStation players love, and I like From Software games and Dark Souls games, and so Bloodborne. That's the game I went with, Bloodborne. And I think that's a great first game for a first platinum trophy. The game has 40 trophies, including the platinum itself. Took me around 35 hours or so of gameplay time in order to get them all. Really, honestly, my personal opinion, it's actually probably the easiest From Software game to complete so far. And there's not that many missable trophies. In fact, I think you can get them all in one playthrough except for the endings, because there's 3 different ending trophies like there are in the other From Software games. 2 of them always missable, 1 of them you get, but there's always ways around that to get all 3 in one playthrough. But as far as I know, nothing is really missable. I think if you miss maybe a weapon or 2, you can get it on your next playthrough, which does happen to me on this playthrough, and you'll see that later in the video. But anyways, yeah, so Bloodborne, first platinum trophy. Let's jump in. I then start off the game with making my own character. I end up picking female, and then I end up picking the name for my character, and I think I came up with probably the best name ever. Helen Keller. That sounds like a good name. I then go through the rest of the character creation part, picking the hair color and the face and the lips and the eyes, followed by one of the coolest and most creepiest opening videos I've ever seen to a video game. I mean, just watch this. So everybody I've known over the years has told me this is From Software's hardest video game, and it decides to immediately prove them all right by having the very first thing I run to in the game kill me, this werewolf. Think you got me, bro. Now, upon your very first death in the video game, you actually wake up in the hub world. Apparently, it's actually quite cool looking. It's very beautiful looking. The color is really good, and the sky's cool, and the scenery and everything's really cool about it. Kind of also a little bit different for the game. There's normally a hub world in the other From Software games, but you don't just automatically get transported there pretty much after death. So it's kind of interesting for them to do it this way rather than typical ways of just being teleported there from another NPC showing up or something along those lines. But anyways, this world is this area is very important. Everything you're going to need for the rest of the game is kind of here. There is a shop that you can go to that's over here in the beginning of the game. There's also this doll that's over here that will come very, very, very important later. But pretty much she has to do with when you're able to spend your echoes in order to level up. And by echoes, the equivalency of souls from other From Software games or whatever they were called in Elden Ring. I don't remember. Then the very next important thing you do here is you pick out your very first weapon in the game. There's this axe, there's a saw, and there's also a cane. I haven't really known which one's really more overpowered than the other ones. I have seen the saw one used by friends of mine a lot, and I've seen it in videos in the past. But I decided to go with the hunter axe in the long run. I like the idea of using a big axe and swinging it around. The next thing you do in this game is actually pick out a gun, which no other From Software game has this. This is completely different. There's bows and stuff, but no guns in the other games, and that's what makes this game very unique compared to their games. Another thing about the gun which is overpowered is that that's how you parry, and trust me, there's a lot of instances in this game where you need to do it, and for some reason I never actually end up doing it that often. I just didn't find it to be my playstyle, so I use it a little bit in certain times, especially on a certain boss coming up soon, you'll see. Finally, after getting my very first weapon and the gun in the game, I'm allowed to actually start exploring the open world of the game, looking around the areas for enemies and loot and stuff like that. Shortly after I start the game, I find my very first lamp that I can light. These are pretty much equivalent to the bonfires from Dark Souls or like the Side of Graces from Elden Ring.
Upon death, you...
I then immediately use the light to go right back to the hub area of the game again. Now there was a door earlier that was closed, and now it's open once I return there. And going in there is the old man in the wheelchair from the opening video sequence of the game. Now you can talk to him, and pretty much he just talks about lore and why you're here, and tries to get little backstories and what the actual main story of the game is. But if you know any From Software game, the main story is always kind of convoluted and confusing and never really straightforward. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what he does. Also, on a side note, he definitely tells me that there's another use for that doll out there besides just, leveling up. If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Come here, doll. I want to use you. It pleases me.
Right after this, I immediately decided to go back to exploring the very first area of the game. I pretty much get through it very quickly, just killing guys along the way and stuff, looking for loot, looking for better items, anything that, could be useful to me in the future. But just like any other Dark Souls game, there's these long, huge, wide open areas, and you can just kind of run past them if you want. But now I eventually get to the very first boss I fight in the game, the Cleric Beast. Now, the Cleric Beast, honestly, he's hard and easy at the same time. There was actually a period in time where I played Bloodborne before, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I only got up to the Cleric Beast, and on the first try of fighting him, I beat him. But trust me, it's not the same this time around. It takes much longer. But that's the only time I played Bloodborne, was up to the Cleric Beast, and then after that I just never went back to the game. So essentially I've now caught up to where I last left off in the game. After dying to the Cleric Beast, I immediately go back to the doll now. Now I can actually officially start leveling up. I don't know why she wasn't activated in the beginning when the guy said you can use the doll, even if it pleases you. So I'm assuming that you have to die or just travel around or explore around in the map a little bit more in order to unlock the ability to start leveling up. But it works just like any other Souls-like games. You need blood echoes, which is the equivalent of souls. You talk to her, and then you just pick your skills, and from there level up what you want. It has pretty much all the same skills that all the other Dark Souls games have. I then go back to fighting the Cleric Beast a couple more times, but realizing I'm still struggling with him. I feel as though I'm very underleveled, or don't have, good armor or weapons or whatever. So right after fighting the Cleric Beast and dying to him these 3 or 4 times, I go right back to exploring into the world again. I'm just looking around for maybe better weapons and better armor, getting more souls or echoes in order to level up more, and just generally doing what these Souls games are about, which is exploring, killing enemies, and just having fun and getting better at the game. I did find the world very awesome and fascinating in this game. I like the dark, London Gothic English kind of look to it, and the sound and everything like that. So the game just looks phenomenal. And how the map design is reminds me of kind of a lot of Dark Souls 1 with how it is. But then I find this suit of armor that I'm pretty much going to wear for the rest of the game for the most part. I believe I will be changing my mask later, or the headpiece later. But for the most part, I pretty much wear this outfit. And it's a really badass looking outfit, I'm not going to lie. It's a very cool, badass outfit. I then return back to the doll girl. I've saved up some souls by this point, and I decided to use them to level up a bit more. Hopefully putting me in the right path of fighting the Cleric Beast again, and just doing a lot better of a job against him. But I think that was key, just exploring and leveling up more. I might have done more of that the very first time I played the game versus doing it this time, so that's what I ended up doing. From here, though, after leveling up, I then decided to go back to fight the Cleric Beast again to give it another shot. This time around, though, yeah, I get him. I do a lot better against them. That's exactly what I needed, was just going out, exploring, getting maybe a little bit better of armor. Doesn't have that much more defense, but it helped. And also just the leveling up part helped a lot. I think I got another 5 or 6 levels. So that definitely made the difference, and I felt the difference. I did a much better job this time around, and ended up getting him, which also ended up unlocking my very first trophy in the game for killing him.
Yeah.
Now, shortly after the Cleric Beast, when I go back to exploring, I actually run into the very first mandatory boss in the game. Since the Cleric Beast is actually technically an optional boss, you don't have to fight him. There is a trophy for him, so you kind of have to fight him, but he's technically optional. This is Father Gascoigne, who is the first major story boss in the game that you have to fight. And yeah, there is a trophy related to him as well. But he's a hunter just like you in the game. Pretty much all the same aspects. Weapon that's sharp and a gun in one hand. He's pretty much here for a big important reason though, and that's to show you how to parry very well, and the kind of ways you can parry and who you can parry against and how to utilize it. And here's some footage of that. Yeah, this is just plain and silly how honestly easy it is to just parry this guy. And that's pretty much all I do for the entire fight. And I do get him on the first try. And get my next achievement in the game, which is for defeating him as well. I then get my very next trophy in the game, which is for getting a blood gemstone. They're essentially little runes you can put in your weapons to give them special perks or buffs. Right after I immediately fight the very next boss in the game, which is known as the Blood-Starved Beast. This thing is annoying. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I found it quite annoying. It's very quick, hits very hard. And as you get later into the fight, it just does more damage to you and also spews poison everywhere. Very annoying boss. Not a bad boss fight. Like, it is a good boss fight, but just one of those bosses that just out of nowhere is just faster than you expect, hits harder than you expect, and you just kind of feel like you're under-leveled when you get to it because there really wasn't much to do between the last boss and this boss as far as leveling up and finding better weapons or items or whatever. Now, one thing that is interesting about this game is that it is a beast, and there are these little vials that I eventually do end up throwing against the wall over and over that attract the beast to it, and makes it kind of like just distracted by wherever that vial was thrown, so you can get a couple of good hits on it from the back. And by throwing the vial at the wall and doing this, it does a lot more damage, especially with the fire weapon that I'm using as well. So beating Blood-Starved Beasts gives me my next 2 trophies in the game, one for beating him, along as getting a trophy for getting a chalice.
Yeah, that made it way...
Now, these chalices, they will be very important later, so try to remember these. There's multiple of them in the game, but they will become very important later, and trust me, they are very annoying. Very, very annoying for what you have to do for them. And time-consuming, and repetitive. Chalice dungeons, wow. They are annoying. I'll just say that. Just to put them, simplify them, they're just annoying. The one thing about the game I probably hate the most is the Chalice dungeons. We'll get more into it later, but there are 2 trophies required for them. Actually, technically 3? 2, 3, technically. We'll get more into it later, but I'll just say they're annoying and they're required, so... I then get my next trophy for getting something called Communion, which is a rune in the game. It's used to actually increase the amount of blood vials that you can hold, but somehow I forgot to go use it, so I never use it the entire playthrough. I then run into my very next story-related boss in the game, which is known as Vicar Amelia. A very cool boss design, I like it, and the tone is very creepy when you first get to her, especially in this little video sequence here. The boss is really cool looking, really nice design, and not too hard to fight either. I didn't find it too bad. I believe I did it on the first try, again, which actually you'll see that quite a lot in this video, where somehow I keep killing these bosses on the first try, and some of them might surprise you from what I've been told from other people. Anyways, didn't find her to be too bad. You just kind of, like any other giant boss in the game, just kind of try to be behind her the entire time, keep swinging your weapon, keeping behind her the entire time, and repeat, and so forth, and repeat again. She's just big and bulky, nothing really crazy as far as her movesets go. But yeah, as soon as you are fighting her, like I said, just stick behind her, stick to her legs, try to be behind her, keep dodging. I found that heavy attacks helped a lot in this boss, kept staggering her to get extra hits in, and I just kind of kept doing that over and over and repeating, until I finally defeated her and got my very next trophy in the game for doing so. I then get my very next trophy for getting an ultimate rune. It's kind of found at the top of the castle. Takes a little bit of exploring. I think there's a few of them in the game though, so you'll probably inevitably find one.
An ultimate rune or whatever.
I then get to the most gank boss fight ever of gank boss fights in the history of the Souls games. I mean, this fight is just ridiculous. It's called the Witch of Hemwick. Pretty much there's an invisible witch that you have to find that's hiding in a room, kind of like the snail in Elden Ring, if you know what I'm talking about, and just hit her until she dies. While you're fighting her, though, she summons those Revenant guys as well. First it starts off as 1, but as you do more damage to her, it'll get to 2. But then you'll see why this is going to turn into the ultimate gang fight of gang fights. So, essentially, as you're running around and you're ignoring all the Revenant guys and you're just attacking the witch, eventually, you know, right after killing the first witch, there will be a second witch that spawns in. Pretty much almost immediately after defeating the first witch. Then while fighting the second witch, there'll be 3 Revenants, so pretty much I just kind of run away from them as best I can. I tried fighting them in the beginning and I realized it was just a huge waste of my time because they're kind of slow. They don't really run after you, so I decided to just focus all my time just on the witches that are invisible. At this point I was having a fear that maybe like a third one was going to pop up and this fight was just going to get ridiculously more ganky, but it didn't. So from here I just hunt down the witches, look for them. You'll kind of see a red orb form in the map or in the area. That's where they are. If you see the white little orb shoot from where they are, that's also a clear indication of where they are. So I just kind of look for that. So yeah, so once I defeat her, I get my next achievement or trophy in the game for defeating her as
well. That was an annoying boss fight. Whoa.
Continuing on with the main path of the game, I eventually run into my next boss fight, which just happens to be another gank fight. I mean, just look how quickly, like, right off the beginning of the fight, just how quickly they kill me. It's kind of a little bit of insane, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I go right back, I try to do a couple of things. I'm sitting here trying to focus on one guy at a time. Probably the best bet, considering that 2 of the guys kind of rush you while the other one sits off in the distance just kind of shooting fireballs at you. They end up getting me again, so on the 3rd try I end up doing it the same exact method, but this time I abused the parry a little bit more. Parry works wonders against these guys, so highly recommend that you do the parry. It's very, very strong against them, does a buttload of damage. So I stick to my method of just killing one at a time. I start with the first guy, I kill the second guy, and when I get down to the 3rd one, who's the one that shoots fireballs, he will start being a little bit more aggressive and rushing you, but still also try to shoot fireballs at you. But eventually I do get him. He's my last guy. I kill him, and that gets me my next trophy in the game for doing so.
Blood Rapture? What's that?
In the next area, I then run into the next boss in the game. Yet again, another gank fight. This time with a gigantic, random, crusty-looking spider thing. That weird-looking spider thing that has other spiders with it. I do die to it a few times. Actually, this fight was probably the last fight that I had in a while that really irritated me or annoyed me in any way. And it's just because there's other enemies. I do not like boss fights where they throw a whole bunch of other enemies in there, and that's the only thing that makes the boss hard, not the boss itself. I'd rather fight one really, really, really hard boss one-on-one than a boss being hard while I'm fighting it only because he has other people in there. Even though during the fight I do summon a guy of my own to fight on my side, that one guy does not make up the difference of like how many spiders there are in this area. The spiders also kind of one-shot you when they jump on you. If they head smash you just right when they jump into the air, it will be like a one-shot kill, and it will kill you, unfortunately. I found the best method here is just to continuously keep running away from them, kind of ignoring them. If you do have to kill them, make sure you hit them in the back, because their skulls have like really hard armor on it, and hitting them in the skull or in the head does like no damage at all. So make sure if you do have to kill the little spiders, you're hitting them in the back to do massive damage and pretty much 1 to 2 shotting them. As for the giant spider, though, just keep running away from it, hitting it, running back to it, hitting it, and eventually I do kill it to get my next trophy in the game.
Oh, shit. I feel like that's way harder than it should have been. Kin, Cold Blood.
Then eventually this woman's in here and just talk to her, and she decides to show you some sort of lore stuff with the game where the giant moon is a baby or something along those lines. I don't know. It's Bloodborne lore. I'm not going to look too hardcore into it because all Souls games lore is weird, but it has something to do with that, I believe. I don't know. I then decided to go back and start exploring other areas of the game that I didn't think I explored too well. That's when I get to Dark Beast Peril. I actually had run into him earlier on my playthrough. I tried to hit him like one time and he just wrecked me, so I was like, no, I'll come back to him later. So this is me coming back to him later on the other playthrough. I do definitely way better than I did on the first try. He's kind of like the Cleric Beast, just with electric a little bit. That's what he kind of reminds me of, but he's on all fours. Same kind of vibe though. Just kind of try to stay underneath them, try to get to the back of him when you can, and watch out for his attacks. This little guy that you can summon with you helps out a lot as well. But yeah, anyways, if you stick to that method and you stay behind him, you try to stay underneath him and hit him, he's really, really not that bad. Got him on the first try, essentially the second try, but my real first try of actually trying to fight him and beat him. So, anyways, beating him unlocks my next trophy in the game as well. Besides the trophy, he also drops something called a badge, which is a very important item. I'm going to go more into detail on them later in the video, but just know that they are important. Continuing down the main path of the game, I eventually run into my next main boss, known as the One Reborn. Just look at this video sequence. This video sequence is just awesome. And this is when I really, really start to appreciate the boss design and the enemy design in this game. I think they are some of the best designed enemies and bosses in the entire series of Dark Souls or Elden Ring, you know, Sekiro, Bloodborne. To come from Miyazaki, these bosses are just phenomenal looking. This creepy ass thing just made me really think that, and just look at the color and the design of it and everything. So the One Reborn isn't really that bad. I do die to him a few times, but he's just, once again, one of those big, bulky enemies that you kind of just got to run around him, sneak behind him, start hitting him, and keep doing that over and over again. He does, unfortunately, hit really hard, and there are, like, little mage guys that are up on the balconies up above you that, unfortunately, keep shooting fireballs at you. And yeah, it makes it a little bit, kind of ruins the boss fight just a little bit, because at least they're not on the ground with you running around and fighting you, but it's kind of annoying to have other kind of enemies shooting fireballs at you, and it's distracting you, it's doing damage and everything else. But eventually I do beat him. He is the next main boss that I beat in the main game, and that does unlock my next trophy for the game for doing so. Shortly thereafter, I get my next trophy in the game for getting to a specific location in the game known as the Nightmare Lecture Building. After exploring this area, I finally get to the boss at the end called Amygdala. Very hard to pronounce that name. Anyways, so this boss at first, I got it on the first try. Really didn't think it was that bad. At first I was a little confused though as to why I couldn't really do that much damage to it until I really realized that for this boss, it wants you to attack its arms. And more importantly, if you notice, there's an arm that's glowy, that's like kind of white. Attack that arm specifically, it does massive damage. But anyways, after learning this, it didn't really take too much longer. Only a couple of minutes in this fight, and I eventually beat him to unlock my next 2 trophies in the game. One for beating him, and another one for a chalice. Once again, like I said, these chalices, I'll go into more detail on it further into the video, but they are important for later.
Oh, I got 2 trophies?
Exploring some more, I then get my next trophy, which is the choir, for getting to this specific area in the game. It's actually an optional area from what I understand, and the prerequisites are killing the Bloodstar Beast while also discovering the Guardium area and getting the Upper Cathedral key. But this area is completely optional, but exploring this is the next trophy that I get. While exploring that area, I run into my next major boss fight, known as the Celestial Emissary. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty easy boss fight, but at first I was confused because I kept attacking the little minion guys and it wasn't taking life off of the actual life bar until I discovered there's one in particular that you have to hit. So once you discover that one, you just keep hitting that one over and over and over again. When he gets down to his halfway mark, he will become gigantic, which makes him a much, much bigger and easier target. But honestly, he's really not that hard. As long as you keep running around in circles, you will get him. And eventually I do, and he's my next trophy in the game for doing so. Shortly after that boss, I run into my very next boss in the game, known as Apriatos, Daughter of the Cosmos. Apparently, this boss is incredibly hard, incredibly difficult. I honestly don't know what to really say about it. At first, when you get in here, the boss isn't going to attack you right away. You kind of just look around and do what your thing is and try to guess for yourself. It's also staring at that stupid spider from earlier in the game, if anybody's noticed. But anyways, I pretty much decide, okay, enough with this crap. I'm just gonna get this started with, and I decide to go right for the head. So doing that will start the fight. Like I said, I don't really know what to do as far as strategy for this. I kind of just kept dodging attacks, running around, hitting it when I could, running around, dodging over and over again. Oh, I did summon a little summon guy too with me. He kind of helped out a little bit. But this is apparently a boss that's considered one of the very, very hard bosses in the game. And I do think it was hard, but I definitely got very lucky because I did it on the very first try. I didn't really struggle with it at all. I didn't have a hard time with it at all. So besides just dodging and running around, yeah, that's my strategy, and eventually it works. Eventually I kill it, and I do unlock my next trophy in the game for doing so, including another trophy as well right after for another chalice that will become important later. After that boss, I go back to exploring where I find this lady assuming the position. She's actually very important. She's in an optional area as well, so you kind of have to look around for her. I wish I had a better guide of exactly how I got to these, but unfortunately I was just exploring and ended up getting to them without even realizing how I was getting to them. But anyways, you got to kill her, and she's going to drop the first third umbilical cord in the game. The third umbilical cords, they're called third umbilical cords, but there's actually like 4 in the game. I only found 3. I think there's 4. I did a little bit of research and people said there was 4, but I didn't actually go out of my way myself to go get the 4th one. You only need to find 3 of the 4, and you need to eat all 3, and this is required for getting a different ending at the end of the game, which is required for a trophy that's missable. So it's safe to eat 2 of them, and then just save the 3rd one until later when you have to make a decision on what you want to do, and then eat the 3rd one. And when we get to later in the game with the ending of the game, I'll talk more into that a little bit and what to do and what I did and blah, 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 blah. But you need to go out of your way to find them. They're in 3, well, one of them story related for sure from a boss. But the other 2 to 3, are in missable locations where you actually have to go out of your way to get them. So best bet is look up a guide. I try to show them where they are as best I could in the videos, but honestly it was a little confusing how I even got to the places where they were, besides the one that's story related. So yeah, safe to eat 2, don't eat the 3rd one, or you're locked in on that ending with the trophy. If you eat the 3rd one, you're automatically locked in on it from what I understand. So eat 2 at the most, and then save the 3rd one for later. Then, right after you get that 3rd umbilical cord, you want to immediately eat it. And this is going to come important later. In that same area, you want to find this known as the Canehurst Summons, this item. It's very important to getting to another optional area in the game later. I then get my next trophy for the Source of the Dream, which is getting to an old, well, familiar area of the game, but this time it's not in the realm of the dreams, it's more like in the real world, and you're finding the real location. Here, also along the way, is where you can grab your 2nd, 3rd umbilical cord in the game. So go ahead and make sure you eat that one as well. Now, using the Canehurst summons, I'm going to actually use it to go to that new optional area right now. This area is a very cool, awesome area. It reminds me of like Dracula's Castle or Castlevania or something like that. It's just a very cool, awesome looking castle and very cool area of the game. And this area is completely optional. The only way to get it is to get that Canehurst summons letter and then go into this specific area, and then this little chariot will show up. And then from there it'll take you to the new area. Just a very cool, awesome little optional area in the game, and it does have a really awesome boss fight in it as well. The run back kind of sucks, but the area itself is actually very cool.
Oh, that was cool.
And for arriving at Castle Canehurst, this is where I get my next trophy in the game. While exploring Capital Canehurst, at the very end of it, I run into the boss of this level, known as Martyr Lugarius. He's a really awesome boss design. Once again, reminds me of something out of like Castlevania or something along those lines. Very cool. I like the setting. I like it's on the rooftop. I like the look and the feel in the snow. This guy is considered, I believe, a harder boss in the game. I died to him a few times. I mean, the main struggle I found with him is definitely in his Phase 2. In Phase 2, he's going to put like the sword thing on the ground, and then that sword is going to start shooting those like sharp-edged swords, icicle things at you from a distance. It doesn't matter where you are. They're going to be hitting you, except unless you get like behind a little bit of the cover that's on the roof. But if you can't, they'll be hitting you constantly, pretty much non-stop, unless you run up to the sword and hit it to destroy it. Other than that, he's just very quick. Just dodge. Watch out for his attacks and his range attacks and everything like that. And just keep at it. Eventually you will get him. And eventually I do get him. And that is my next trophy in the game for doing so.
I did a thing.
Continuing on with the main story, I then run into what I consider the dumbest boss in all of the From Software video games. Literally, this boss is dumb as hell. I think his name is Myco Lash. I didn't even care enough to learn this dude's name because of how dumb this boss fight is. But if you want to see the boss fight, here it is. This is essentially the entire boss fight right here. All you're doing is chasing him. Just chasing him and chasing him. Chasing him and chasing him some more. And then you're chasing him and chasing him again. Maybe you'll randomly get 1 or 2 hits on him, but then you'll continue chasing him. And you'll keep doing this for about a good solid 10 to 15 minutes or so as you chase him through this freaking map. Yeah, this boss fight, not sure exactly what it was about. He eventually, at about the halfway mark, he does go to a little bit of a room where he doesn't really run. He starts trying to fight you a little bit until you get him down to his halfway mark on his life. Then from there, you have to continue chasing him again, and continue chasing him and chasing him and chasing him and chasing him and chasing him again, until he runs into another square room where you continue fighting him again. From here, this is the end of the fight. You just continue fighting him, dodge his spells, because he keeps spamming this one spell over and over and over, which is like tentacles shooting from his hand. It does a lot of damage, and it can kill you probably in 2 hits. So try to dodge it very well. But other than that, he's really not that hard. He's just more annoying and time-consuming than anything else. And I really just don't understand why he was in here. So this, by far, in my opinion, is definitely the worst boss fight in the game. But be that as it may, for beating him, you do unlock a trophy, and that is the next one I unlock for myself in the game as well. Not too long after Myco Lash, I run into the actual main boss of this area, known as Margot's Wet Nurse. Much better of a boss fight. I mean, at least it's an actual boss fight, and I'm not chasing him around anywheres. But anyways, this boss didn't find it difficult. I got him on the first try. Actually, if you're watching it, I'm just speeding up the one take, because honestly, it was only like a 3-minute fight or whatever. Didn't find him difficult at all. But a buddy of mine was watching my stream and told me that there's a certain move that he's supposed to do where the screen goes dark and he's supposed to be attacking you from the dark, but for some reason he never does this to me, I still haven't even looked up what that move exactly looks like. Maybe I will after this. But apparently he never did it to me, so I don't know. But apparently that's supposed to be the move that makes this guy difficult. But I really didn't have a difficult time with him. I just kind of kept running around him and then attacking him, and that was pretty much it. He didn't really do anything more spectacular than that, and I didn't really find him too difficult. His hits don't do that much damage. I mean, they do damage, but not a lot. But anyways, I do finally kill him, and I get my next trophy for doing so as well. And if you notice, he also drops a third umbilical cord as well. This is the only one that is story related. And if you have already eaten the first two that I've showed you, or another two, do not, I repeat, do not eat this one yet. I then get my next trophy for fully upgrading a weapon. I just did it to Lugwood's Holy Blade, which is the weapon I use the entire game. It's freaking awesome, but that's my next trophy. Alright, from this point out, towards the ending of the first playthrough of the game, so from here I decided to jump right into the DLC. The DLC is awesome, it's good, it's great. Definitely has the hardest bosses, I think, in the game in it, kind of, and we'll get into that. As far as accessing the DLC, though, it's a little confusing, and I wish I had better recordings of it. I'm sorry in advance, I do not. But you have to defeat a certain boss, Velia Amelia. I can't pronounce her name. Giant dog thing that is in the castle. Then you interact with the skull that's behind her, and then you transport back to the hub world, and you pick up an item called Blood-Eyed something on the floor. Then from there you go to the cathedral, and you go out the door and down the stairs, and one of those invisible, gigantic, alien-looking things will grab you, and it'll teleport you to the DLC. It's just as confusing as all DLC-related From Software things are and how to enter them and get into them. It's just as confusing as the rest of them, so... wish I had the footage for it. I was just kind of doing it as I was doing it and not really realizing I should have been knowing exactly where I did it and picked up the items, because I kind of did the steps throughout my entire playthrough, not all at once in one go, so... yeah. But... if you look up like a quick guide for it, you probably find it right away. Anyways, so yeah, so I jump into the DLC before getting to the end of the game to work on all of those trophies, because I'm also going for all those trophies as well. And then I'll jump back to the main game after I beat the DLC. So the first boss fight that I run into the DLC is Ludwig. He is apparently really infamous for being incredibly difficult and incredibly hard. But just go ahead and look at this video sequence, this opening video sequence of him. I think his character design, his design is just so freaking badass and cool. Just an awesome looking creature, and this is just one of the things in this game that I really love about the design of the enemies and the bosses in this game. He is just so badass looking. Creepy, demonic, just badass looking.
That is cool / demented fucking looking. The guy.
The fight starts off, he's very fast, very quick. He does hit really, really hard, but I was just really aggressive with him. I was constantly up on him as fast and as much as I could be, swinging as much as I could be. Just getting him down to that halfway point, where this is where I was really surprised in the game with what they did. So when you get him down to that halfway point, it goes into another video sequence, you kicked his ass, but he's coming back, and he's coming back with something that's in every From Software game, and it's just one of those weapons that's just iconic in this series, the Dark Moon Greatsword. Yeah, I was wondering if it was in this game, and now it is, even though it's kind of introduced through a DLC, but the fact that they gave it to an actual boss to use it on you is just awesome, and I really like the idea of it. I really, really love this boss design. I really think this is the best one in the entire game. Maybe even the best one in the entire series of From Software, period, ever. But I just stick to it. I'm just aggressive to him, just like I was in the beginning of it. And I will say this is, unfortunately, what I was told from my friends and people watching my stream is that I got incredibly lucky, because guess what? I get him on the very first try. Not that I don't think he was easy. Definitely not. Definitely a challenging boss. I think it was just because of how aggressive I was. I don't know. I think that's what it was for me, but I think he was a great, fantastic boss, and if not one of the, definitely the best bosses from Software has had to offer. So killing him does unlock my next trophy in the game for doing so.
Bye.
I get my next trophy for Blood Gem Master, which is for acquiring an extremely precious blood gem. Essentially, you can get them in the DLC or in the Chalice dungeons, which I'll get to later, but they're essentially just a much rarer variety, higher variety of the blood gems that you can put on your weapons for better upgrades and stuff. I then get to the next major boss in the DLC, known as the Living Failures. These bosses are just like random little alien things. They're kind of creepy looking, but kind of cute at the same time, you know what I mean? But it's another gank fight where there's just one of them at first, and as you do more damage, it kind of multiplies into 2, then it'll multiply into 3, and that's about it. And they kind of all either swing their arms or shoot gigantic crap from the sky or whatever they're doing. I don't know. They're really not that bad. Just kind of run away from them continuously, run up, hit them a couple of times, and run away again. Just keep track of where all 3 are, and eventually you'll just get them. They're really not that bad. So eventually I do kill them, and then I get my very next trophy in the game.
Yeah. Astral Clock Tower.
Now, pretty much right away is the very next boss fight, and I'm not exaggerating. It's literally in the next room after the Living Failures is the very next boss against Lady Maria. She is definitely the inspiration for Millennia in Elden Ring. There's definitely no doubt in my mind about that. She's really quick, has to do with blood damage, almost kind of even has the same character model in a little bit, you know, if you look at her closely a little bit. But definitely a very fast-paced, quick fighting boss. She hits very hard. But once again, I was just very aggressive with her. I was kind of all up in her shiznit the entire time I was fighting her and just kept hitting her. And once again, another boss that I do get on my very first try that I've told was incredibly hard. But I do beat her, and that's my next trophy in the game for doing so.
Are you an achievement too? Oh, okay. Did you give me anything?
Now, there is one optional boss in this DLC, and we're going to get to it right after this, but in order to fight that optional boss, you need to get this skull that's located here. My very first time running through here, I did not know it was here. It's not until a friend of mine told me later that there's a skull that you have to get, so I'm just putting it in this video so you guys know if you get to this area, make sure you step on the elevator, jump off, and then this item right here will be the skull that you can grab to take to the optional boss. So then I immediately decided to go fight that optional boss instead of going and fighting the final boss of the DLC. And it's just another cleric beast, except this one is on fire. And I believe his name is Vicar or something like that. I don't know. I'll remember at the end of the fight when we get to it. But anyways, so it's just another cleric beast like the very first boss I fought in the game, except this one was much harder. Unlike the other bosses that I've been fighting, this one I definitely do not get on the first try. He takes quite a few tries, and he actually does start pissing me off a little bit. But not as much as another boss does later. And we'll get to that. Not that too much longer, actually. But anyways, this boss is just like the cleric beast. He's fast, he's all over the place, except there's this new fire that goes everywhere. Just kind of keep swinging on him and staying to his legs. That's what I did until this happened. So when you get to about the halfway part of the fight, he decides to not have legs anymore, and he becomes way more harder. Only because now, while he's running around with no legs, he's spewing lava all over the place, and it's kind of hard to get up close to him without taking damage over time. So you just have to keep doing it and doing it, kind of, over and over until you eventually get it. He's definitely harder than normal cleric beast, but he's not that much harder. He just hits a little bit harder, and he's much quicker. But eventually I do kill him, I do get him, and that is the next trophy I get in this game.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I finally get to the final boss of this DLC, known as the Orphan of Kos. It's typically just a newborn baby that's born on the ocean, and you just start fighting it, and it's fighting you because it's freaking out, doesn't know what you are, and you're fighting it, and it's fighting you, and that's essentially what the fight is. But I will say, just, yeah, fuck this boss. Fuck this boss.
What the fuck is going on, man? I can't see what's going on. Like...
Unfortunately, it's just one of those things where you run into an incredibly hard boss, but you don't know they're really hard at the time, so you end up doing really, really good against the boss on the very, very first try, and you're not really getting hit, you're dodging the attacks pretty good, you're getting a feel for the boss, but then after you die the first time, just after that, you just start getting annihilated by the boss, and you just, for some reason, can't do as good as you did the very first try. Has that ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me quite a lot. But this is the one and only time in the game it's happened to me here, and it's the only boss in the game that has really gotten me aggravated, not going to lie. I don't really know what the pointers are here for you, other than just practice and get good at him, because that is the only way that you are going to get good at him.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to do... Okay, what... Okay, once again, I cannot... Okay. Come on! You know... Okay. Come on, man!
But eventually, in the end, just like every other boss to me in this game, he inevitably dies, and I get the trophy for doing it.
Thank you. Holy shit. Holy shit.
I then get my next trophy for acquiring all special hunter tools in the game. I think they're equivalent to sorceries or spells or whatever from the other From Software games, but I'm not really sure. I never actually used one throughout the entire game. But that is the next trophy I get for getting all of them in the game. So now I decided to finish wrapping up the main story of the game. And of course, the very ending of the game, you have to go back to your old pal Gurman, who's the old guy in the wheelchair who talks to you in the beginning of the game. He's kind of there in the hub world throughout the game. Anyways, you got to go to him, you got to talk to him, and you're going to have two choices. The first one is to submit your life, and the other one is pretty much not to, and to defy what he wants you to do. So from here, I did a little bit of the cloud save trick in order to get all the endings in one playthrough, rather than playing the game multiple times, because honestly, I just didn't want to dedicate another 20 hours to this game, just to get those last two trophies. Essentially, the first one I do here is going to be the one for submitting your life, so I'll get the trophy for that. So now I'm back up with Gurman to make the different choice in the game, which is to refuse submitting your life. This inevitably leads to a boss fight with him, and he is kind of the final boss of the game, but not really. But I'll get to that when we get to the third ending. So then the fight starts between the two of us. Honestly, he's a pretty cool fight. Not gonna lie, I like his scythe. It's a really badass, awesome weapon. He does kill me a couple of times, but he's really not that hard. Just go back to doing the parry method from earlier in the game. Since he's human, it works wonders on him. I totally even forgot about it for like 20 hours in this game until this fight. But honestly, he's not that bad. I got him, I think, on the third try. After successfully getting him, though, and finally killing him, that's when I get my trophy for the next ending in the game. And then we move right on to the third one, which the third one has a little bit more of a requirement. So I'm going to get to that like right about now. Now, when I reload my save again after the second ending, I decided to do some grinding to get echoes in order to buy my last weapon needed for the DLC for that trophy. Thus completing all of the trophies that I had in the DLC, because that was the last one I was waiting to get. The next trophy I decided to go for is for the third ending. So I reload my save, I'm back out here where I have to make the choice, and now this is when the third umbilical cords come in handy. Or not handy, but become important. So that last third umbilical cord that we didn't eat, that I said don't eat, you're going to save it for this moment after you get the other two endings. Because once you eat it and then talk to Gurham and refuse to submit your life, you're automatically locked in on getting that specific ending. So doing the reload save method with the cloud save is your best bet here to get all three endings in one playthrough. On the third try, then eat the umbilical cord. That way, then you can make the choice to refuse, and then this way you can get the other ending, along with an additional boss fight that's also in this ending as well. Now, after making that choice with refusing to submit your life and eating the third umbilical cords, you'll have to fight Gurman all over again. It's just the exact same fight from earlier. The only difference now is that when you do beat him, you unlock a different boss fight, a secret boss at the end, in order to get the third ending. And this boss is known as the Moon Presence, and it is just badass looking. Like I've said it earlier in the video, I think all the creatures in this game were just phenomenal looking, and Miyazaki was just on top of his game with it. So the Moon Presence is the secret boss at the end, and that's the one you'll be fighting for the third ending trophy as well. I don't really know what to say here as far as strategy when fighting the Moon Presence. I was honestly just really aggressive with him and up in his face the entire fight. I just did that, and honestly, that's how I got him on the first try. But for defeating him, I finally did get the last trophy achievement for the third ending as well.
Okay. Okay. Alright, so there are these items called badges. The badges is what you go to the shop with, and then it unlocks more weapons and stuff in the shop's inventory for you to buy. Most of these badges are locked behind bosses that you have to fight, which most of them you'll fight kind of throughout the game. And there are some optional bosses as well, so if you're going through for the other trophies, you'll get those optional bosses, thus you'll get those badges. There is one particular badge, though, that is locked behind an NPC that's very early on in the game. That is the one that I miss, and that is why I'm required to do another playthrough to get that one badge. Luckily, that person is very early in the game, like in the very first area of the game, and all you have to do is fight and kill them and get the badge, and it's that simple. But anyways, we'll get to that later as well. As far as the any other weapons, there is one that you can only get in New Game Plus, but right pretty much at the beginning of the game. It requires you to do that ending for eating the 3 umbilical cords, so that's why I'm recommending that you save that one for last, because you have to fight a secret boss that's at the end in that ending, and that boss will give you a certain badge, and the game just starts you off immediately right into New Game Plus afterwards. So you have to go into New Game Plus, get to the very first shop all over again, and then from there you can buy the weapon. So probably about another 15 minutes after starting New Game Plus. But that's why I recommend you do the third umbilical cord ending for last. That way you just go into New Game Plus and you get your last weapon there. So it's very possible to get, like I said, all the trophies in one playthrough and just get that last weapon in the next playthrough. Except for one other weapon that is locked inside of a chalice dungeon. But when we get to the chalice dungeons, we'll get to that as well. Now, after beating the game the first time, you're going to immediately be thrown into New Game Plus. I was only missing one trophy on this playthrough, which is the trophy for getting all weapons in the game. And there was only one weapon that I was missing. Now, the weapon I was missing is from getting the Crow Hunter's badge. And the reason why it's missable is because there's one NPC in the game that has it. There's only 2 ways to get it. Either you kill that NPC, or you finish that NPC's questline and then get it at the very end. Luckily enough, though, that NPC known as Eileen is in the very beginning areas of the game, so I just bolt right to her and immediately start fighting her to kill her to get her badge. Now, after finally obtaining the Crow Hunter badge, I return back to the main hub world where you can level up. From there, I go to the shop in there. I can finally buy the last weapon that I need to get the trophy for all weapons. And the weapon that you need is called the Blade of Mercy. So I buy the Blade of Mercy and get my trophy for all weapons in the game. Alright, so this should be the last weapon I need.
to get the achievement. So let's see. Yep, cool. Cool.
All right, so we're finally to those chalice dungeons that I was talking about earlier in the video. So they were essentially cut content from the game that I guess they were going to be more dungeons in the game and more stuff and more places to explore and more bosses. And they cut the content from the game and then they just kind of made chalice dungeons. And chalice dungeons is kind of like this online thing you can do with other players, I guess. And there's, you know, score leaderboards for it and stuff. But essentially you just do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and over. Did I mention over and over and over again? You just do the same thing over and over again. Here it is in a nutshell. You go into the damn chalice dungeon, you run through it, you kill guys, you pull a switch. You run through the chalice dungeon some more, you pull another switch. Then you go fight a boss. That's the end of the chalice dungeon. And that's all the chalice dungeons. And you have to do this for hours because while you're playing the chalice dungeons, you have to pick up certain crafting material because in order to access chalice dungeons, you have to craft this specific thing in order to open the door to that chalice dungeon. And there's a crap ton of chalice dungeons. I don't even know how many. A crap ton. 50, maybe more. I have no idea. I didn't want to know because there is a little way you can kind of sneak around it. There's when you go up to the little graves in the hub and you want to pick your chalice dungeon, gives you an option to type in a key code. And if you find the right key code online, like I did, you can skip right ahead to where the boss is in the final boss in the chalice dungeon, which is required for a trophy. Unfortunately, the code doesn't always work, apparently. I got it to work one time. I couldn't get it to work another time. Don't know. So there's codes out there. They must be changing all the time. I'm not really sure. So the two things locked away in these chalice dungeons that you have to get is a weapon, which is the Beast Claws, I believe. Yeah, the Beast Claws. And then the boss that I can't pronounce her name, but the final boss all the way at the end. And you will see her later in the video when I defeat her for the trophy. But anyways, so the chalice dungeons, I hated them. Definitely the thing I hated the most in this game. I was trying to do it legitly at first without trying to do any skip or anything, and I was 5 hours in, bored out of my mind, repeatedly doing the same thing. It felt like over and over. In the first chalice dungeons, it's easy. All the enemies die in like one hit. Actually, for the first like 10 chalice dungeons, they die in like one hit by the time I got there because I was, you know, like really overpowered and strong. But then they eventually started becoming harder and harder and harder, and then harder than the actual base game, it felt like at some points. But they're just repetitive. Worst thing in the game. Happy they're done. Rest of the game, fantastic, great, amazing. Chalice dungeons, ew. So, fortunately though, you have to do them for 2 trophies to get all the weapons and for that boss, just because that one weapon is locked away in it, and the boss, you know, there's a trophy for that boss. So, sorry, but if you're going for all the trophies, you're going to have to go through the hell like I did. And that's really what Bloodborne is all about.
So in the chalice dungeons, I get to the final boss that I have to face in this game for me, which is Yarnan, the Thumerian Queen. Honestly, don't really know what to really say about her. She is a little hard. She does hit very, very hard. I got her on 2 attempts. This guy here, Queen Killer, yeah, definitely use him. He helps a lot. He distracts her, because halfway through the fight, she eventually splits into 2, and then there's 2 of them running around in this arena while you're trying to fight them. Trust me, they're a pain in the ass when there's 2 of them. There's a pain in the ass when there's 1 of them, but it really is a pain in the ass when there's 2 of them. But finally, I beat her and I overcome her, getting the trophy for beating her, and my very first PlayStation Platinum trophy ever.
Okay. Pretty confident I got her on. Is that it? Is that my platinum? Is it? Is it? Woo! That should be it. Come on. Yeah! Yeah!
Well, that's it. My journey through my very first platinum trophy ever for Bloodborne, and you should be honored to be watching it. I mean, it's my very first platinum trophy ever. This is awesome. I'm going to get more of them. I'm going to play everything that is PlayStation exclusive. Well, maybe not everything, but a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff. So, with that being said, my next video is going to be another platinum trophy for The Last of Us, because I've always wanted to play that. I know stuff that happens in it, but I still always wanted to play the game. So that will be in my next video, is The Last of Us Part 1. And I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with that video as well. Not only is it going to be a video about getting all the trophies and a possible little trophy guide to help anybody along the way, but it'll also be a collectible guide. So it'll have all collectibles in it, where to get them, how to get them, and stuff like that. So it'll be kind of a mixture of two. I'm assuming it's probably going to be my longest video to date, but, you know, it's the first Last of Us, not the second one, so people will care enough to watch it, you know what I mean? So with all that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you like the video, you can watch some of my other videos, and you can also subscribe, give me a like or a comment or anything like that. You can also follow me over on Twitch and Instagram too. Not really on there as much as I probably should be, but if you feel like looking me up, Psychotic Mr. L, I'm on there too. We got like, 13 followers or something. But, give me a subscribe on here if you liked what you saw today. And as far as the rating for the game goes, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It would be a 9 if it wasn't for the Chalice Dungeons, but 8.5 out of 10 is still pretty damn good too. And play it. I recommend this game. Absolutely play it. Anything from Software is pretty damn good. If you like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and you only have an Xbox like I did, and if you're going to get a PlayStation, definitely make Bloodborne your first game. And you don't have to play it to get all the trophies for the platinum and stuff like that. Just play it to play it. It's still just a great game. So yeah, anyways, once again, thank you everybody for watching. I really, really, really do appreciate it. And until next time, this is your host, Psychotic Mr. L. Hi guys, so yes, thank you for watching this video you just watched. If you liked it, if it helped you in any way or whatever, I got these 2 other ones right over here that you can also watch as well, wherever they may be, somewhere on the screen. But yes, thank you for watching, and if you liked what you saw, absolutely watch these videos as well. Thank you. Bye.